watching the mystical green beanie.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm the mystical green beanie. First things first, I want to introduce my guest. You might know him, you might not. He is...
Probably don't.
I mean, he's on the channel, and he's single, ladies. That other review dude.
Howdy.
And gentlemen. Just gentlemen and ladies. He's single.
Yeah.
And ready to nerdy mingle. And today we're mingling with some My Hero Academia. Talking about Season 1 in particular today because, well, originally I planned to talk about both Season 1 and 2, but Season 2 is kind of a different animal. So I thought it'd be best to just talk about Season 1 first and kind of get that out of the way. Not out of the way, but like, you know, address that as its own entity as opposed to combining them together. So, yeah, first things first. You got me into My Hero Academia. So,
I'm sorry for that.
at least it's a show I like as opposed to like you forcing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. down my throat.
Hey, Black Clover can still turn out to be good, okay?
Or like Arrow, you're like, no, this season's good.
Hey, I didn't get you an arrow. That was your own fault.
That was all you. I'm gonna blame you for that.
You blame me for everything. But until that, you can blame me for is the amazingness that is My Hero Academia Season 1.
Yeah, man. So, like, how did you start?
How did I start?
Yeah.
Trolling the Crunchyroll forums.
Wow. I would say I expect more from you, but I don't.
No one should ever expect more from me. I can barely get my own YouTube channel up. You should not expect anything from me.
But yeah, man. But like you were just trolling and like you saw like probably a GIF or something, and you're like, "Hey, I'm down."
Yeah, I'm like a superhero anime show. I'm down to clown for that.
Yeah.
And then it got really popular. So I was lucky that I got on the hype train before people would start calling me
a bandwagoner.
A bandwagoner. And even though people still call me a bandwagoner, even though like you only got in on episode 2, you were such a bandwagoner.
Ugh. You weren't there for the original manga.
You weren't there for the prequel cover of the first manga.
You weren't even there when they like first hit the shelves in Japan. You didn't get it imported.
You were not there when they were in the writer's room thinking about the show and what it was going to be.
It's like, but were you there?
I am always there.
Oh man. But I'm trying to think my first exposure to it. I'm pretty sure it was a GIF, and it was on Facebook, and it's that scene where All Might sees Izuku working out, or like it's when he clears the beach, and he says, "Oh my goodness," which I abuse that GIF a lot.
It's amazing.
Although this is a very gifable show. There's so many things.
Isn't that this show is not on any regular programming?
Well, it's on Funimation, right?
Yeah, it's on Funimation, but I'm talking about like it's not on a Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network.
Yeah,
I'm
only because they swear.
Huh?
Only because they swear.
I mean, Naruto. There's been other shows that Cartoon Network has taken over that they swear. Total drama action can happen, but we can't have My Hero Academia.
No. Well, didn't the first season of Clone Wars, didn't they swear?
I think so.
Yeah, like twice. Because I know like Captain Rex said "damn it" in like one episode.
Which?
I don't remember, but like I remember my mom was in the room and we were watching it, and she like her ears perked and she looked up and said, "What the hell are you watching?" I said, "Nothing.
I'm watching stuff on Cartoon Network.
I'm watching porn. It's easier to explain."
Is it ever easy to explain?
You know, sometimes it's easier to just say I'm watching porn.
It's easier to explain that than it is to explain porn.
Yeah, but speaking of things to explain, I'm taking a cue out of your book where I just transitioned into
the entrance exam.
Yes.
The first arc.
Actually, let's
My Hero Academia.
Let's go a little before that.
Oh snap!
So, I got some notes here, because I if you guys have
Just
watched,
so you know, I do not have any notes because he just called me up randomly, just like he sent me a text like, "Hey, you want to talk about My Hero Academia?" Then 20 minutes later, he was like, "Hey, we're doing it right now." I'm like, "What? Right? I don't have my notes."
it's like you don't get notes. No, well, if you guys have seen other discussions, then you know that I have a tendency to just ramble, and I don't have a
Yes, he does.
structure. So I have a structure right here. So let's do this. So first thing on this list, I dig the concept of the show like a lot. I think we were talking about this a few days ago. This feels very much like Mark Miller's Ultimates. Remember, like, the Ultimate Universe?
Yeah, I remember that, but didn't you change it into like it's more of something else?
Kinda, and I'll talk about that a little later. But it's just, I mean, it feels like a hybrid of those two things, where it takes the not deconstruction angle, but like it's
Does it take? Do you mean like it takes a reality of situation? Like
yeah,
it has that idea, but then it breaks it down. Like, will that actually be like?
yeah, and like it's a lot like Grant Morrison's New X-Men in the sense that this is a world where a lot of people have powers. In fact, I think it's the best way I can describe it is this feels like a sequel of Grant Morrison's New X-Men, where in that book he says very early on, I think it's Beast, who's like, humanity's not going to exist in 5 generations. I feel like this is like generation 4 into that
because
universe.
In the show, they say that 8% of the world is composed of superhumans.
Yeah, and they even kind of, and I know this is like season 2, but like they even kind of bring up the fact that like when people with powers, or as quirks as they call them in the show, when people with quirks started showing up, the governments didn't know how to react, and like there were protests and violent like lynchings and stuff. It's very X-Men in that regard. And,
the only difference between this and that show is that we actually move past it eventually.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of interesting. But what I think is even more interesting than that is that we're following a protagonist who is powerless in a world full of people with powers. And that really informs his personal opinions and views of what a hero is. Right?
Yeah, it definitely informs him because ever since he was young, he had that idea of like, I'm gonna be like the Superman of the show, All Might. I'm gonna be the next All Might. I'm gonna be great, like, because All Might is such an inspirational person that from a young age he took that inspiration. Like, that's what I want to do when I grow up. Yeah,
exactly. And I really think it's kind of interesting because we're taking that. It's the reverse of that concept of being abnormal in a normal world, where traditionally you would see like this one kid who has powers but he doesn't want them, he wants to be normal, and we're just kind of turning that on its ear, where it's the kid who wants to be abnormal but being abnormal is normal.
And they do that a lot in a different situation that I can't talk about because it's in season 2.
Mm-hmm.
But they do bring that idea up a lot, where being different is the new normal.
Yeah. And again, that also is kind of the reason why I brought up, and probably will bring up Grant Morrison's New X-Men very heavily here, because that's something that he deals with in his run a lot.
Yeah.
Where it's the paradigm shift of, what we view as normality. But the main thing I kind of picked from that was that, the original point that I was talking about was how with Izuku Midoriya, who is the protagonist of the show, if I didn't address that already.
Yeah, I probably should have brought that up earlier.
Yeah. But with Izuku Midoriya being one of the 20% minority powerless people in the world, he's looking at the world from a worm's eye view. he's analyzing superheroics from a very different perspective from the rest of the world, because everyone else, and I'll talk about this a little later as well, but everyone else has powers. So being a superhero is kind of not a normal thing. Well, wouldn't you say it's kind of a normal thing in this universe?
It's very much a normal thing in this universe where it's like the cops, even the cops really hit, like, we're just waiting for superheroes. Like, they're much more of a beat cop level, because, like, you don't need, because when you live in a world with powers, you just expect that people with powers to handle everything.
Yeah, and they kind of do that thing that Batman 66, that the old Adam West TV show does, where the cops are kind of incompetent because they're just dependent upon the heroes to do their jobs for them.
Like, they have protocols for what to do in a situation. Like, you just do this and wait for the superheroes to show up, and, like, it takes a lot. That's something else I like about the show, because it takes a lot to be a hero. Like, no one can just jump up and do it. You have to go through training.
Yeah, and there's like a lot of regulation for, how you should do this and what steps you should take, and I actually kind of want to talk about that a little bit as well. This whole concept of not necessarily like regulated heroes, but more so celebrity heroes.
Yes, they definitely go into that in the show.
Yeah, and that's also a very Mark Miller cynical Ultimate Universe idea, where the heroes aren't really heroes, and they dive into this in season 2 very heavily, but they touch on it in season 1 a little bit as well. But these heroes aren't really heroes because they don't come from a place of powerlessness. They come from a place of not, would you call it privilege?
Maybe in the early stages when it wasn't so much like everyone has powers, because I would say a state of privilege would be like you were born above the norm. But we live in a world in this show, like when this is taking place, where it is the norm. So is that really privilege if it is the norm? Like if it's a standard, if you do have powers?
So you're right. So it's more so just the standard. It's expected. It's like, oh, you have powers, so like you train, and if you have a good one, you'll be a superhero, and you'll sign with like an agency. So like they treat it like a sports deal.
Yes,
almost.
It's very much. Actually, I think that's the best example you could use. It's very much being a hero in this world is very much like training to become a professional athlete. Like you go to, especially like let's say soccer, because like I'm sorry, football, everywhere else. But
no,
like you go to
not 90% of the people who watch this channel are American. We call it soccer.
We call it soccer, but like in England, you would train like you go to the academy, you just live this and you do this so that you can become you can get signed to a team one day.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like you talk about this like if you have good powers, even if you don't have a good power, you still have a use in this world, because I am very much into like niche things they only throw away in passing.
Mm-hmm.
But like even his mom, who I think is a regular person, has a power, and she like regular people still have their power to use that to change everyday things. Like it's not just like, oh, if you can shoot fire out of your hands, you'll save the world. But if you have like normal powers, there's still a place for you. Like I'm trying to go without going into the season 2 arc, but
it's kind of impossible. So like we might as well like bring up some things.
Okay, so when they go out to train, like you see that it's not just like when they go like to shadow their jobs.
Yeah, like the internships.
Yeah,
the internships.
Yeah, the internships. Like you see, like Sue, she is with like kind of a rescue type thing. Like,
Sue, she's the frog hero.
Yeah, but she doesn't like just call her Sue. That's what she likes. I don't want to go on her bad side. And like you do have your standards like patrol, but you also have like rescue. You also have healers. You also have people who deal with, let's say, a hostage situation, and like everyone who has powers has a role to play. Like I think there's even people they talk about this very briefly, but like someone's parent is like working overseas, just building ship because he has fire powers.
Mm-hmm.
Like working construction, and like that's how much the world has changed. It's not just a superhero thing; it's a everyday thing. Like it's as simple as using a tool.
Yeah, it's been incorporated into daily life. And going back to a point that you made earlier, powers are just the standard. Like, the world now operates on behalf of people who have them because that's just the status quo.
And like an example of this, just to get us through, like, if I don't know, are we going by arcs or are we just jumping all around?
Oh, we just jump all around.
Okay, because then I can take all this stuff down. Because I was going to bring it back to the arc where Izuku first meets All Might, and it's like Bakugo is fighting this villain, or like he's being captured by this villain.
Yeah,
Bakugo's the heroes are going to show up.
Yeah, and Bakugo's the explosion guy.
Explosion, like his sweat can create explosions. It's very interesting.
King Explosion Death Murder. I was reading the manga, and I got to the part where they're talking about the names. I'm just gonna call him that from now on. You can call him Bakugo. I'm gonna call him King Explosion Death Murder.
I might call him that too because I'm not good with names with Castus Lodge.
I kind of remember their names. I more so remember like their powers and abilities more so than their names.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was. You're right. I really do think the perception of the world, and how they view powers is fascinating, and that also really informs how the protagonist views powers and the rest of the world around him. And I want to kind of bring this to another point where it's a really simple concept, but it's one that I think is handled very fascinatingly. Is that a word? Fascinatingly?
Sure.
Sure, let's go with it. They deal with this whole theme of don't judge a book by its cover, and that's very heavily prevalent throughout the first season, especially when we talk about All Might and celebrities or heroes and Izuku and even Bakugo. Like, we really talk about this whole idea of not judging a book by its cover. Oh, good?
Yeah, I was going to say exactly. Like, I think the important thing is All Might, because remember his All Might secret.
Yeah. Like the world views him as Superman, but like as he says in the second episode, he's just like that's him like sucking his gut in, like people at the beach. Like I do, yeah. like fat people like me. But he's not always like that, and that's kind of a Superman idea where like the world views him like as this perfect ideal to strive toward, when in reality he's just a guy who goes to the grocery store and like does normal people stuff.
Except he's dry clean just like you. He's just a normal man, just like everyone else.
Yeah. Except unlike Superman, All Might actually reverts to a scrawny, like, always bleeding from his mouth kind of guy.
With great power comes a lot of great pain.
Yep. Didn't he have, like, his stomach pumped out or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real brutal.
It was a fight with All for One, I think. They talk about that.
And they go deeper into that in season 2, and I think they're resolving that now in the manga, but I haven't gotten to volume 11 yet. But I really like this whole idea of from the outside looking in, you're looking at these characters one way but like when you start to get to know them, they're completely different. Like the heroes, everyone still kind of views them how we view heroes, where they're these larger-than-life paragons, but when you get to know them, they're just these assholes. They're these self-absorbed, like, celebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and, again, they dive deeper into that in season 2. One of the funniest things is when Mountain Lady is trying to like get something to eat, and like she uses her celebrity status to get free food.
Like you do.
Yeah, I mean, boobs. Boobs are magical. Boobs can. In fact, you don't need to be a superhero to do that. Just have boobs. You'll get free stuff.
You get into some controversial territory right there.
Hey, I'm just telling the truth. But I think in season 1, we see this more through the eyes of Class 1A, who is the class that we follow throughout the series. Their teacher, Eraserhead, whose name I can't think of at the moment. I think it's Ayazawa.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah, sure, we'll go with that. But yeah, Eraserhead kind of, I don't think he represents the audience, but he represents
yeah, it is.
Yeah, Aizawa.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he definitely has this point of view where I think the writer is on his side, kind of, where he's just very dismissive of most of the other heroes and most of the other celebrity heroes because he just sees them as glory hounds. They're not actually doing this because they care. They're doing this because they want to get paid and want to get laid.
Yeah, that's definitely the case, especially dealing with, not going to talk too much about it, but Todoroki? Shoko Todoroki?
Which one's Todoroki?
The dude with fire and ice powers?
Yeah, we definitely...
Especially with his father and how, like... let's just go into it. Like, how his father wants to be the number 1 hero, and he's always number 2.
Yeah, and that's a... Damn. In fact, let's put a pin in that one, because that's... I can talk, like, for hours on end about that, and, like, the whole thing with his father, and, like, the ranking of heroes, and, this, like, hierarchy of, power status and celebrity status with heroes. But even he's really fascinating, especially when you get into that whole idea of judging a book by its cover, because from season 1, you just see him as, like, this Sasuke cool guy who's always kind of cool, but then you get to, like, actually see him as a person, and he opens up more, and he's more nuanced than that.
Yeah.
And he has, like, a really tragic backstory. I don't cry a lot, but that... We'll get there, but there's a scene in season 2 where I was like, oh, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, a lot of the best stuff happens in season 2, in my opinion.
Yeah, same here. Although there's one scene that I think we'll talk about here, because it's in season 1, that just narrowly puts season 1 above season 2 for me. But yeah, man, going back to that point we were talking about with the judging a book by its cover, we also kind of see that with Izuku. Because everyone just kind of looks at him as like a quirkless weirdo, and they're like, "What is he doing here?" Because he doesn't live up to the standard of having a quirk.
Yeah,
he's powerless, and everyone around him is just like, they all kind of look down on him. I think that's kind of interesting, especially when he blows him out of the water with. One for all, which is the quirk that he gets.
Yeah, he's one for all.
One for all. I get one for all and all for one mixed up sometimes.
Very, very different quirks. Yeah.
Very different, but they sound similar. But it's one of those things where it comes out every so often, but people just don't expect much from him.
But
yeah,
I don't know. I still don't think they expect a lot from him because even when he uses powers, they see right off the bat. He can't control them at all.
Yeah.
And you can control your powers, and what good are you?
Exactly.
Which is what we see later season, but in the second season,
where
it's like, yeah, he is amazing and his powers are all like super powerful, but if he can't control them, or if he gets because with his powers, he breaks his body every time he uses them.
Yeah, and what
good are you if you can only throw one punch and then you're useless for the rest of the fight?
It's like One Punch Man, but with all the cool stuff taken out.
Yeah.
And we kind of do this with Bakugo as well, where they see his power and they're like, "Oh, he's gonna make a great hero," but then they actually interact with him, and he's a crazy person.
Hey, he is just very passionate. He's a Slytherin.
He is a Slytherin mixed with a school shooter, mixed with the Unabomber. Not well, no.
Very topical.
No, no. I'd say more so the hero killer is more the Unabomber than anyone else because he actually has like a ideal.
Yeah, but that's next season.
But that's next season. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, and I think that's really cool because again, going back to that first point we made like near the beginning, people look at things very superficially in this universe, as they do in real life as well, but they see your powers before they see your heart.
Yes, and that's very special, and they talk about that a lot season 2 with class. I think it's 2A. Isn't it class 2A?
No, 1B.
1B. Mm-hmm. There's a student in 1B that his powers are basically sets him up to be a perfect supervillain.
Yeah, he has the Purple Man power, where he's like, if he just walked up to a girl and said, "Take your clothes off," she'll do it because that's his power.
It's interesting where you go with that power.
I mean, I just finished watching Jessica Jones season 2, so that's why it's on my mind.
Sorry for you.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it, but yeah, no, like that's something that's like kind of universal throughout season 1, 2, and the manga. This whole idea of people looking at your powers before they actually look at the person wielding them, and there's a very like select few characters that don't do that.
Like Uraka?
Which one?
Uraka? Gravity?
Oh yeah. I just call her Uravity because I love that name. Plus I can't say her name like Uraraka. Like I can say it, but it doesn't roll off the tongue for me.
Side note: he's the guy we're talking about is Class 1C, General Department.
Oh, okay, gotcha. But yeah, like Uravity. I'm just gonna call her Uravity. Uravity kind of, she sees through everyone's. Well, I think that in the beginning, she. What's your read on her character? Because I have a few reads on her personality, but what's yours?
I don't know. My read on her is that she came off very much as a typical, like, want to try her best, do her best, but as we get more and more into her character, we feel that her reasons for being a hero can appear very superficial, but at the same time, her heart's in the right place.
Yeah. It's still selfless.
Her seems to always be in the right place, but how she goes about it can sometimes be
somewhat problematic.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, she's a character that kind of came alive almost instantly.
Really?
Well, yeah, because she does have like a weird character change in season 2, and that's just kind of the deal with the way I feel they broke up season 1 and season 2. I feel like they kind of could have done that a little smoother, especially after reading the manga. But the way her character starts, I think, is really fascinating. And not fascinating because she's inherently a fascinating character. She's really just kind of a generic stock, like, love interest.
Yeah, I was gonna say love interest.
Yeah, but I like the way how, unlike everyone else in the show, she doesn't. She looks at people's character before she looks at their quirk.
Yes.
And that's kind of why she's drawn to Izuku immediately. Like, she sees that he is a good person, like a cool person at least, a nice person.
And it also helps that he saved her.
Yeah. Yeah.
During the trial, entrance exam.
Well, it's only fair because she saved him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that felt like a very X-Men like moment where like the kids are all like running to class.
Big giant robots.
That too, but no, just the beginning where like they're running to class and some of them are using the quirks to get to class.
Yes.
Yeah, that felt very classic X-Men to me. But I really liked her. I really liked her character. That just immediately shows that even before she knows him, she's very caring for everyone else around her.
Yeah, and I would agree. She always comes off as very caring in season 1.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that instantly makes her likable as a hero, potentially. Because a lot of the other heroes are just kind of doing this for the fame and glory, and she's doing it because, well, she's also doing it for, like, the money, but she's doing it because...
I'm trying to avoid talking about that, yeah.
It's kind of hard not to
her reasons are because she wants to help her family out, because her father's construction business, I want to say.
Yeah. Which is kind of weird. Like, in a world where, like, superheroes and supervillains, like, Zack Snyder it up, like, on a daily basis, I'm pretty sure construction companies will be doing gangbusters, but...
Well, it depends how big the construction company is, because most likely contracts are already being signed for larger corporations, and it's more of a jurisdiction or a district will go to this company only.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Because if things are happening and destroying as much as possible, they probably have a contract like, this amount of years, you'll be the only person fixing this side or this specific area. Or
like matters with like heroes are licensed out to a privatized cleanup crew organization.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Controls the damage that's being done.
Yeah, I see what you did there. I like it. But yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
That's like they don't say it, but that's what I have to assume if a father's company's not doing that well.
Yeah.
Because it's very much companies probably got on the ball with this very soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how, because I don't think we see her parents that much.
They talk on the phone in season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so we're running up on 32 minutes now, so let's get to this last point here. We've only had 3. But moving on, I wanted to ask you this question.
Okay.
So, what is heroism? Because in the end of season 1, the villains bring up an interesting point that the heroes and villains are just as violent as each other, but they're lumped into categories for superficial reasoning. Now, I have an answer for this, but I want to hear what your answer is.
What is heroism? That's the question.
Uh-huh.
I feel like the villains make a strong point, and that's why the villains are so good, because it very much confused me to think, like, what would separate them other than the fact that they are taking the action, like, they're standing up, the villains are standing up for themselves because they are put in positions where if you're not the top hero or if you're not the greatest, you are seen as I won't say subhuman, but like
subpar
hero, because you don't fit into either category. You're not a regular person, so if a regular person did this, like, they have an excuse, they don't have powers, but you have a power, but yet you're not fulfilling it to the greatest potential, as if you're All Might.
Mm-hmm.
And the world views heroism on such a grand scale celebrity that it's very hard to compete or get the recognition or appreciation that you would normally see people receive if you're not the best.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I wanted to... I like all the points you brought up, and I want to challenge one of them. Mm-hmm. So, you just brought up this notion that we kind of brought up previously. A lot of these heroes are out to do this for themselves. Isn't that what a villain does?
Exactly.
Yep.
Except, I think it's more about how they go about it.
Mm-hmm. But the inherent concept's still the same, like using your powers for personal gain as opposed to using them as selflessly as possible.
Yeah, I would say the inherent concept is the same, but the matter of fact of how you go about it, you can end a war 2 different ways, but the end results are going to be very different.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have the same goal in mind, you could either end it with total destruction, annihilation, or peace.
Yeah.
But you still want to end the war the same way.
And I think that's kind of I like that you just brought that point up, because that's a very apt description of the dichotomy between Izuku Midoriya and Bakugo.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Izuku is very much the he's the olive branch to King Explosion Death Murder's nuclear option.
Like, he's very much like, I'm going to be the best, no matter what, who gets in our way, you're all scum to me. Which puts him off as very much a villain aspect. And, like, people think, like, oh, he's going to be a villain.
Mm-hmm.
Or he's just... They actually, people don't even think that, which I'm kind of surprised by. No one brings this up.
Yeah. He feels very villainous to me.
Yeah, he feels very villainous, but no one talks about, like, well, I mean, he's in the academy, so he can't be a villain,
yeah,
right?
And I just chalk that up to, like, the world being so superficial that they're looking at his powers before they're looking at his character. But the answer that I had for this was actually comes from a discussion I was having with someone about the Marvel movies versus the DC movies, where they were talking about how in the DC movies the heroes aren't really heroes because they're fighting and causing all this destruction, whereas in the Marvel movies they're fighting but they're also protecting people. I feel like a character's inherent motivation is what differentiates the hero from the villain. Like, for example, people like to rag on, like, Man of Steel for the destruction, and I can see where they're coming from, but...
Billions of dollars and lives have been lost.
But I think the thing that separates General Zod from Superman in that movie is that they're both fighting and they're causing massive amounts of destruction. Yeah, but what they're fighting for is the thing that separates them. Zod is fighting for total annihilation. Superman's fighting to protect people. Like, and it's those inherent reasons which make Superman the hero and Zod the villain. And they kind of play with that aspect in the show. Like, violence is bad, yes, but violence, the reasons for your violence is what separates the heroes from the villains. Like, All Might is the symbol of peace, and they call him that in the show. That's kind of like his, that's his nickname, the symbol of peace. But he also, like, you know, a capable fighter and is willing to fight in any scenario. And what's the villain's name? Whose quirk is disintegration?
Whose quirk is snap. Hold on, I got the wiki right up. Stall for time.
Yeah, with the hands on his face and body. Which, by the way, all those villain designs are amazing. Like,
oh yes,
yeah, like,
definitely amazing.
In fact, I think all of the designs for the costumes are fantastic in this show. Even the ones that are inherently supposed to be goofy still look cool. But yeah, that disintegration villain, he brings up this interesting point that, you know, the heroes are just as violent as the villains. So, it's not like most of the heroes are out to do this out of the goodness of their hearts.
Tamura Shigaraki.
Yeah.
Shigaraki, yeah.
Shigaraki challenges All Might on this, and All Might, he gives kind of what I feel is the obvious answer of, you're just being dismissive, and you're hiding behind a philosophy that you don't actually believe in. You're just kind of being a violent asshole. But I still think the question itself is very important, especially in regards to superheroes, where, you know, heroes inherently are violent assholes, right? Yeah, they just get out there and they punch stuff. I mean, that's what we want to see, because comics are, you know, they appeal to our basic human natures, and we just want to see things get punched. But I mean, he brings up an interesting point, I feel. And I think that, not the last scene in episode 12, but the fight that he has with Nomu is the perfect answer for why heroes are different from villains in that regard. Because All Might is fighting for justice. You know, he even says it, like, he is on his last limb. He is about to revert to his regular form because, as we mentioned earlier, he can't hold his superhero form for a long time because he's injured. And he is giving it his all to protect others. And he is sacrificing something that is very near and dear to him for the sake of others. And I don't want to get too meta here, but I feel like part of the appeal of comics is that the heroes win because of good karma. And they kind of play that up as here as well, I think at least. But, the heroes win, and the heroes are loved, and the heroes are praised because they're doing this for the people. Even when they're not doing it for the people, they're still kind of doing it for the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's something... I want to bring something else up, but it will take us in another direction, so...
No, go ahead. I finished my spiel, so go ahead.
And I think a big part of this show is All Might, and how he's very much he's very much an American ideal, or American... He's very American in his nature.
Oh, that's interesting. You think that. Okay.
Yeah, especially, because think of his move list. Mm-hmm. He has, for his powers, he has the Texas Smash, Detroit Smash, Missouri, Carolina, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, United States is his ultimate move.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I think, how much of All Might do you think is very much, how they see, let's say, a Superman-like character?
Yeah, he's very much the Superman ideal archetype. Yeah, you're right.
Because thinking about this, I can tell off the bat, he's very much like a Japanese creator thinking, okay, what's the most American hero I can come up with? And, it's no coincidence that the color scheme as well as his physique is very similar to Superman's.
It's just Superman. Down to, the fact that he wears a blue bodysuit with, the red highlights and the...
Has a little bit of gold touch in there, because you gotta keep that gold in it.
Oh, yeah. And he has, the very recognizable hairstyle.
Yes. And I want to know, how much do you think All Might was influenced by Toshiniro Yagi, which is the All Might's name? Mm-hmm. Well, this All Might, but that's getting spoilers into
that's
future episodes.
Future episodes and even the manga, but yeah.
This All Might's influence, because he names off his moves after American states or / cities, because Detroit Smash.
Yeah, I mean Detroit's already smashed, but that's no.
You had to make the Detroit reference.
I'm sorry,
I real highbrow in this episode.
I had to go there. But All Might is very inherently an American hero. Or at the very least, American, through the lens of the Japanese.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, I remember seeing that fight with him and Nomu. I was thinking to myself, we need a Superman anime, because this is just a Superman Doomsday battle, and it's the best I've ever seen.
It is, because it's amazing how incredible that fight was. Can you imagine that fight if All Might did not have to hold back, or he had his true power before United States of Smash?
Oh, dude, that would have been over 5 seconds. I think he even says in the anime, that in my heyday that would have been 5 blows and he's out. That took 300 mighty blows. So it's
yeah, and it definitely took, because he's on a timer, and I can't, because I've read the manga past where you're at.
Okay.
So I can't say much. Mm-hmm. But it definitely shortened his time, and even they say it in the anime, but it definitely shortens his time.
Yeah, because I think in the last episode of season 1, they say it takes him down to 1 hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, this has nothing to do with it, but there's some issue I found out. Why be a teacher?
Yeah, and I'm really glad they play with that in season 1, and in
I'm
season
glad
2 a little
that
bit.
he doesn't hide it from the staff, because at least the staff knows.
Well, yeah, because are you talking about the whole thing where like they know about his weakness?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about like the whole thing of you are the world's most influential and controversial figure. That's like if Superman went to like teach at like high school as Superman.
What could possibly go? But hey, hey, that principal who you need to respect his authority.
Respect his authority. I mean, he's real scary.
Deck out that school in a lot of tech, and I'm just like, whew.
Yeah, that's
like he was ready, prepared. Like
that's a very high tech school.
If we went to war, he would be ready. Nezu.
Yeah, Nezu. Yeah, Principal Nezu.
Mr. Principal.
Yeah. Like even the press can't even get in, which I think is really smart. Like because the press would try to infiltrate a school full of superheroes, so it's only, you know, it's only common sense to have parameters and, you know, contingencies for such occasions.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Any final thoughts?
Any final thoughts? Let's see. Like, I'm just gonna go through. Like, I think we talked a lot about the entrance exam, so we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the operation test, didn't we? Where Izuku had to fight huge explosion man.
Oh, that was in season 1?
Yeah, that was in season 1.
Yeah,
remember?
you're right.
Where,
oh,
like,
yeah. Yeah, and that...
Remember when Eraserhead was like, if you don't pass this test, I don't care if you pass the entrance, you're out of my class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like he said, like, you have to not break your hands to fight him.
So he said, I'll just break my finger.
Yep. Like, that's smart.
Also, I love Eraserhead's logical deception ongoing gag.
Yes.
I'm just going to keep doing that to people in real life. That was just a logical deception. With like a big, like, creepy smile.
I like that they had that moment right off the bat was like, what about powers that are because he can take away powers that aren't physical.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, so what do you do about powers that are physical? Like, I just try to kick your ass really well.
Yeah. you're just going down.
I'm kind of screwed on that.
But yeah, I think we talked, like, that whole fight that you're talking about with Ingenium and Uravity and Bakugo and Izuku, like in that testing warehouse.
Yeah, that's another thing that happened, like the testing.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that, but I think we talked about the characters enough that we
except for Ingenium.
Yeah,
he doesn't really come to fruition until
season 2. Like
season
2. That's when he really shines. But I like him a lot in season 1. He's really charismatic in a dorky kind of way.
Feelings on him either way, if I'm being honest.
Okay. Huh. I loved him right off the bat. I thought it was funny.
But speaking of loved, because I think we talked about all the other arcs, your favorite and least favorite character on the show.
My favorite and least favorite character. My least favorite probably has to be the little pervy kid, at least in season 1.
Minoru Mineta?
Yeah, Mineta. Like, he comes alive in season 2, but even still, I just kind of... I don't think he's a bad character, I just don't really...
He's the comic relief.
Yeah, he's the comic relief, and he's the comic relief in a show full of already funny characters.
Who are just naturally funny, like they don't have to try.
Yeah, so, like, he just doesn't do much for me.
Understandable.
My favorite character... Damn. You know, it's a tie between All Might and Denki Kaminari.
Say that last name again?
Denki Kaminari.
Oh yeah.
The guy. Only because I feel like if I lived in that world, I would have his quirk, or a quirk like his. Where it would be insanely powerful, but after I use it, I would be reduced to a dribbling idiot for 5 minutes.
Yep.
I love him so much.
He is definitely a character.
Yeah. I don't know why I like him.
Speaking of people who are characters...
Yeah, but what about you?
My least favorite is very Hinata Zero.
Which one? Which one's that one?
The guy who can take, like, he has bandages or whatever comes out of his... Tape comes out of his...
Cellophane.
Is that his... Yeah, that's his name.
Yeah, that's his hero name.
You know, I'm just like, why are you here? Is there, like, eh?
Yeah, They just needed a power for like one of the students.
Like, I feel like you could cut out at least 5 characters from Class A, because there's too many people in that class, and you would have been just fine.
Yeah.
Like, you could have cut out Toru Hagakura, could have cut out Nezo Shoji, Hinata Zero.
Yeah.
You could either have Koji Koda or Rikido Sato. Either one of them could have stayed.
Yeah, you're right.
And, like, I think there's, like, a little too many characters in Class 1A.
Yeah. Do you think that's intentional, though?
I think it is, because it would be kind of weird, like, if there's only 7 people in this class, and it's like, you tell me that there's only 7 people who got in. Well, it would be kind of cool, interesting thing now, because UA is supposed to be prestigious.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, snap, only 7 people got in, but at the same time, it'd be like, there's people coming from all over Japan here, so really only 7 people got in. So I think that's why they have it, because we need that expensive cast. Because let's think about Naruto and like their class, and it was a lot of people in that one too.
Well, I mean, we went to relatively speaking, compared to all the other schools around us, we went to a pretty prestigious high school, and there were a lot of people there where we were like, what the hell are you doing here? I mean, I know I was definitely one of those kids who was like, what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like...
I think like there was a lot of people, like our class size was pretty large.
Yeah. So it's like,
but,
I think that's just like
Not a Zero, that is my least favorite. Again, I have like a 3-way tie for my favorite characters.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Mina Ashido. I love her character. Pinky.
Pinky. Oh, yeah. I love her. She's great, yeah. You're right.
Yeah, she's great. I love her character.
Mm-hmm.
Then I gotta go Tokoyami. I take these pauses just so like, does he know who these characters are?
I'm bad with names. What's your quirk?
Crow. Like, he has the shadow.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's great. I love him. Yeah, he's awesome.
I love his character. And
he's kind of like Venom a little bit.
Yarozu.
Momo?
Yeah, Momo.
Yeah.
I absolutely love her character because...
I did not like her in Season 1.
Really?
I liked her in Season 2, but not in Season 1.
I definitely love her character because she's... I always love the intellectual person on any show.
Yeah, I know why you I know why you liked her. You didn't like her because you're intellectual.
No, I was gonna bring that up too. And like, they give her this costume design that is like, oh, she's just like the big titty lady.
she's a Rob Liefeld 90s X-Men character.
But like, she has depth to her character.
Premium jailbait, the character. But they actually kind of subvert that in Season 2, which I kind of like.
They very much subverted in Season 2, and I would say Season 1, but not as much.
Near the end of Season 1, because they make a joke about her costume being revealing, to the point where like it actually does get like easily damaged. But her quirk works in such a way where like it doesn't matter, because she can just make whatever.
Her quirk depends on how much body space she has to give.
Plus, you can like make stuff. Like she's kind of like a living alchemist.
Yeah.
Or like a living like alchemist sigil.
Yeah. So, can you think of a character who you think is underappreciated in Season 1, or just for how much you've seen the show?
Honestly, I can't think of anyone. Like, really, like, everyone I feel is kind of used to the best of their ability.
Even Sue?
Even Sue. Like, I think she's... Like, I think... Because the show is really just about Midoriya, and I would like I like the fact that the show focuses on like the main cast of characters, but I think everyone gets the right amount
enough screen time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Notice how we didn't say our favorite was Midoriya, though.
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk about Midoriya. That's like my last point with Midoriya.
Okay.
I like that he's not a Mary Sue, because in a lot of anime, like especially shonen anime, the protagonist is a Mary Sue, and they avoid that trap. That's kind of a thing with all the characters where they give them faults because they're teenagers, and that gives them room to grow. And you don't get that a lot in... Really, you don't get that a lot in fiction, but you definitely don't get that a lot in anime.
Can you explain more in detail why he isn't Mary Sue, though?
He makes very clear and obvious mistakes, but that's okay because he's a kid. Like, he makes, he has this thing where he's always kind of in his own head.
Yeah, he's always strategizing.
Yeah, and like, to the point where it's obnoxious and people are weirded out by it. He's also kind of a beta. Like, in the beginning, he grows out of it, but like, in the beginning, he lets people walk all over him.
Yeah.
And he grows out of that as well. Like, we're seeing Izuku grow as a character, and I like that. And you can't do that with characters, cough cough, Rey from Star Wars. You can't do that with characters who
Come on, man. We were gonna have like a very clean comment, except for that one comment you made. Then you just had to bring it up.
I had to ruin it. But you know, he grows, and I appreciate that, and that goes for the entire cast. They're written as teenagers, and I think we were talking about this the other day. Like, we were seeing the archetypes in the show, and we're like, yeah, that's that kid we knew in high school.
Yeah, we did do that. It was like, who would we be, or who people we know in real life in high school, who would they be?
Yeah, and I can very clearly...
I was Minoru. No, I was saying suppose I was Minoru.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like 100%. But yeah, like I can clearly see these characters growing up. Like, I can see where they're gonna head in life, and I like that. I like seeing these characters grow and evolve and change because they're kids, and they're gonna do that anyways. And we don't see that a lot in fiction anymore. So that's what I really liked about, and I appreciate it in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, we're coming up on like an hour. So you got anything left? Because I'm done.
No, I think that's everything.
All right. Well, that was our
ThatOtherReviewDude podcast. Welcome to my channel.
Die in a fire. I will King Explosion Death Murder you. But yeah,
and shouts to Bakugo and not like the cartoon.
This is Bakugan.
I was thinking, like, as soon as every time I hear his last name, I'm thinking, you mean like the cartoon that was around for like 2 years, Bakugan?
That was like super lit for middle school, or our middle school at least. But yeah, no. This has been our discussion of My Hero Academia Season 1 and a little bit of Season 2. But yeah, let us know down below in the comment section what your thoughts on Season 1 were. What do you think of our opinions on Season 1? What do you think of our opinions on the characters and the concepts that were presented in this show and the manga? Also, I want you to head over to ThatOtherReviewDude's channel. Give him a subscribe.
No.
Do it. And yeah, guys, if you like this video, hit my like button, subscribe to my channel, and yeah, guys, until next time.
And ring that bell.
Yeah, ring that bell. I keep forgetting to say that, but like, you got to do that now because of the YouTube thing. But yeah,
insert Ring My Bell song.
I'd sing it, but I don't want to get flagged for copyright. So until next time, adios, nachos. What the hell are you doing?
Ring my bell?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay.
Charged up.